Okay, we're going to start with you volunteering your name and age, if you will.
Name and age, Murlyn Schneider, December 24th, 1927.
You pass.
I passed. Good.
Okay, we have been given the information that you worked for the first library in town, and we'd like you to tell us about it.
Well, I think who started it, whatever Sarah Grace Owens belonged to, I think this group of ladies got together and did their library. And when they moved it over to Brandis and Troutman's, Sarah Grace Owens called me and wanted to know if I'd like to work after school and some on Saturday. I said, sure, why not? Sounds like fun to me. So I had a whole row of 5 or 6 bookshelves against the one wall that had curtains on it, shades that you could pull down. And as long as somebody was there in Brandis and Troutman, we stayed open. But I did that from my junior year right on up to, I think we got married.
And was that volunteer?
Oh, yeah.
It was volunteer.
Well, I think I got a few pennies.
Well, hey.
Out of, but you know,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Sure. Well, that's interesting.
Was that where it started, at Brandis and Troutman's?
That's where I was.
At Brandis and
I
Troutman's.
thought it started up in that building where Woody
Okay,
Amshotter had his jewelry shop.
okay, I would say that would be before they called me,
Yeah.
but they moved it to Brandis and Troutman's. Yeah.
And was that where, do you know if that's where it stayed until they built this building?
I believe so,
Okay.
until they built this.
Okay. All right. And about what year was that?
Well, if I graduated in 46, it had to have been somewhere around 45.
Okay. And that kind of goes with what Sarah Grace had said too, so that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I only let them down one time.
And that was, you were sick?
Oh, my ancestor and I went to buy a dress for the junior-senior prom when I was a senior.
I think that's a good excuse.
Could not find one.
Oh, no. Okay, well, let's regress a little bit. You grew up here. Where did you grow up?
Same house. It belonged to my great-grandfather.
And that's Augusta Street. What's
Augusta Street, yeah.
your address? Was it always the same address?
No,
Okay.
in fact, there were no addresses, I don't think, to begin with.
Okay.
It was great-grandpa's house. And then when he was still there when Grandma and Grandpa moved in with their large family. And then in 1929, Daddy and I moved back with Grandma and Grandpa, an aunt, and 2 uncles. So the house has always had 2 or 3 generations in it.
Sure. Okay. And we know you went to school here. You got any good stories about school or favorite teachers?
If it hadn't been for Eleanor Sarnes, I would not have made it. The science class in my freshman year, I always said she was good. Don't tell anybody, but I copied a lot so I could get through. But she knew her science, and I liked her.
And I know there's just so that people can put things together, especially your family, there are some films in the library, and one of them shows your class coming out of school. Is
46.
46, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I gave all the helms that I had at home to the library.
Okay.
I knew they'd be safe over here.
Sure. Is there anything else from your earlier childhood that you remember that you think is fun or interesting?
No, I think we just had fun wherever we, in the backyard, out in the street, kicking the can, playing with the neighborhood kids. I mean, we never strayed too far.
And you walk to school, so,
Oh, walked to school every day.
yeah.
Got home, there was a little something to eat. Went uptown, got the mail. And then when I worked at the library, I would go back up to the library till it closed.
Well, and you've told us a little bit about your parents and grandparents. You want to tell us a little bit about your own family?
Well, doing genealogy, I discovered I have 5 boys. My Aunt Marion had 5 boys. My dad was one of 5 boys. My grandfather was one of 5 boys. I'm not sure just what that says about us.
I'm not either.
It's amazing, you know?
It's an interesting coincidence, though, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let's ask, how about some specific things? Do you remember the Elmore homecomings?
Oh, yeah.
Got any stories or any
Uptown.
descriptions?
We were on the side street, I think most of the time, when we could no longer do it on Main Street. Oh, always look forward to those swings
Oh,
that went around
yes.
and round and round.
Ooh. Look forward to that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't as high as the one that's here for you.
No. How about businesses in town? Things that you remember from your youth? Places where you might have hung out or worked?
Always was welcomed at the Guthrie. Well, I'm not just sure what it was. You remember Mrs. Guthrie?
Yeah.
She had what, a restaurant?
Yeah, she had a restaurant.
Sold candy?
It was right next
Ice
to the
cream.
bank on the corner over there.
Yeah, where the bank is, in that area anyhow. Yeah, welcome in.
And you had said that you worked in the library. Did you work in town any other time?
No, that was it.
Well, let's see, that moves you into, how about if you tell us about the founding of the Historical Society? Because you're a founding member, are you not?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I read in the newspaper where Lowell Crumnow was gonna have a meeting at the school. I said, this sounds interesting because I love history. I went down, and in order to become a charter member, you had to pay within a certain time. I borrowed the $5 so I could join and be a charter member.
And
I suppose because my great-grandfather lived here. He worked as a drayman in town. My grandfather worked for the railroad in town. I always kind of thought, well, that's probably where I got my interest.
And that was about 1981?
I think so, somewhere in there.
Yeah, okay. Do you happen to know what sparked Lowell to start it?
I think he was just interested.
Okay.
And yeah, and I thought he did a good job.
Yes, and not long after you acquired property and log cabin?
Now there again, I think Ethel will probably tell you more about, honestly, when things were purchased. Because I was having a family there for a
Sure.
while and didn't get as involved as I am now.
Would you know, Ethel, about what period of time the Historical Society started acquiring property and the log cabin?
My husband could probably tell you more about that because he was mayor.
Well, it's probably something we could look up if we had to, too. That's all right. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, probably ask Lowell. He would.
Sure.
He's probably got it right up here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, how about other organizations? I know you're very busy. What other organizations are you involved with?
Well, I belonged to Eastern Stars, joined when it was over here at the
Masonic,
church
yes.
over there.
Yes.
belonged to St. John's Church, belonged to the Daughters of Union Veterans of the Civil War, which Jane got interested in. She says, "Oh, Mom, we got to do this," because she's really interested in this, in doing something like that.
When did you get involved in that?
Well, we've been in 5 years,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
and we've done,
And this is 2011, so we can all
Yeah.
figure that out.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna ask you a weather-related, another event. Blizzard of '78. How was that for you and your family?
That was tough, as it was for everybody.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you went through personally with that.
Well, all the snow, when the wind brought the snow and piled it up in the front, on the front porch. So, but we could get out the back door. And somehow, somebody had a snowmobile, went out to Johnny's and got us a gallon of milk at least. One of the days, we walked from the house out to the turnpike. But the thing that really remembered was Gary was working for the state, plowing snow, and he got stuck on East Broadway off of 795, and we didn't see him for a couple of days.
Did they transport him somewhere
They
else?
finally transported him
Permanent.
into Toledo, the train station.
Okay.
And he called me and let me know where he was. Just walk across the high-level bridge over where your sister lives on the east side. So he spent 2 days there with them. Well, at least it was a little more convenient
Sure.
until they could get him home.
Sure. Well, that kind of leads us with telling us about interesting people in Elmore. You've been here a long time. You have to have been influenced by some people or run into people that just make you chuckle. Got any stories?
Well, it was always Sadie Helwick from church that kept me interested in church and the youth fellowship. I'm looking for a picture now where our youth fellowship, and there was quite a gang of us, about 10 or 12, that went to Dunkirk, New York for our camp for a week. But I can't find that picture because the church is doing a book.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta look for that.
You have one, you think?
I think I do. We were standing in front of Rainbow Inn out at in Park Clinton, waiting in the bus, the Greyhound bus to take us to Dunkirk, New York.
Okay.
And other people, I've always admired Sarah Grace Owens. She was just a good lady. I remember her, you know.
We've already interviewed her, and she does have a lot of knowledge about the area too. She's very, very sharp and very good
Yes,
informationally.
that's good.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have much more in questions. You want to tell us anything about your neighborhood? You've been there a long time.
Before Lois Taft got sick,
Mm-hmm.
we were standing over the back fence that she's got there. She looked at me and she says, "You know, you and I are the only two left in the neighborhood." I said, "Yep."
So out of the originals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Lois, you're,
Yeah.
you're right. We
Yeah.
are. Because I remember her dad,
Sure.
and I remember the other people that lived there,
Sure.
you know.
We've had a lot of people comment on how much Elmore has changed. One person mentioned a change of 1,200 people to 1,400 people, and I can't remember the dates exactly. maybe 63 or so to now, which isn't a large change, but it is a change in a town this size. Do you want to add anything about the genealogy work that Jane's done? Is there anything that stands out from that genealogy work?
Got interested in genealogy from Chuck's sister. She was doing his family. And she says, okay, you need to do something about your family, knowing nothing about my mother's. Well, the next thing you know, Jane's in there helping me, and we have found a lot of things. But again, if you go by a cemetery and there's a Civil War soldier in there, she needs to get the picture of the tombstone.
Sure.
We tease her about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very much into the Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'm not sure.
How'd you meet your husband?
How'd you and Charlie meet?
Oh, when he came home from service,
Sit over there.
I grew up with my uncle. I call him my brother uncle because he's only 5 years older than I am.
How you doing?
So we grew up as sister and brother. And then he was dating Chuck's cousin. And they were all down in Port Clinton together. And Bud says to him, well, I've got a niece you can meet. So they brought him over, and this was my senior year in April. Okay, this looks like a nice guy, nice and quiet, shy.
And was he nice and quiet and shy?
Yes, he was.
Oh, good.
Yes, he
And
was.
he wasn't from Elmore?
He was from Fremont. His
Okay.
family was originally from Elmore.
Gotcha.
I was surprised when I learned all that.
Sure.
But then we still do the car shows. In fact, there's one Sunday
Yeah, Sunday.
in his memory.
Sure. Yeah, and those the Portage River Festival has been going on. It's become quite a tradition too in the
Yeah,
recent history.
yeah.
Well, I don't have any more questions. You have anything else you want to add?
Right now, I can't think of a thing.
Okay, well, then thank you very much for the information you've given us.
Well, I hope it's okay.
Oh, it's fine. Doesn't have to be a certain level.
No, I don't.
No. If you think of something else while you're sitting here for a few minutes, we can turn it back on, so you let me know if you think of something. Otherwise, we can just sit here and talk. You said something about, no, I forgot which son you said, the one that was transported to Toledo during the blizzard. He went to live with his sister? Aunt.
He went to his sister's.
His sisters. Where did she live?
She lived on Clark Street on the east side.
We're going to continue on with some stories about the streetcars.
I remember Grandma going at least twice a year. I'm sure she walked across the bridge. Went to Tidkey's, bought what she needed. Always came home with this roll of a nice big pecan roll that we didn't get a chance to eat until the next morning. And then I would bring her back, you know. Like I say, I think she walked.
And we had also, because I wasn't pushing the right buttons, we actually talked about this once, so we're kind of repeating ourselves, but we're now on film. You had mentioned that it went through Port Clinton, you thought?
It started, I'm maybe even further than Port Clinton. It probably went clear to the end of the, you know, I'm sure it did.
Yeah. Ethel's been helping us a little bit. She said she thought it went through Lakeside.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
Mhm.
I'm sure it did. And then, because my aunt's uncle was a conductor on it, we have a picture of that.
That'd be great to see sometime.
At least, I didn't know who it was till she told me, of course.
And you had mentioned someone else that worked in the tobacco shop?
My dad worked at Chitke's in the tobacco shop. Well, as I understand it, that's where my mother worked also. That's how they met. I mean, that's the story that I got from them.
Well, and Tidkey's carried just about anything you could ask about. It was a general department store.
And the cheese at the Christmas time. Yes,
Huge.
absolutely. Even-
Great big wheel of cheese.
Yes. Well, he would bring that home once in a while. Until he got a good job at Dollar Jarvis. That's probably why he drove Chevys, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he worked for them.
Anything else come to mind? You talked about the bridge.
Yeah. According to Grace also, I would not have remembered if I was only born in 27 and that's when it was built, then why did we have to stop before we crossed the bridge if the light was red and waited for someone so then when it turned green, Daddy could go?
I don't know.
Grace even couldn't tell me.
Yeah. We'll have to investigate that, see if we can find an answer, even if there was a difference in street lights.
Yeah, I'm sure, And I can also remember when they built the underpasses, the one in Millbury, coming out of there. I remember that.
The railroad underpasses.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you ride the train into Toledo?
On the day that the final train ride, oh yeah, so that one we took.
Okay. And that was in the 60s?
1951.
Was it 51?
Should be on that.
That's right, 1961, yeah.
Okay.
Ethel's right, yeah.
August 3rd, 51. Okay. We got that detail.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't, have you thought of anything else you'd like to add?
Once a year, my daddy, having all those kids of mine, would send us up to George Wise and get a pair of shoes. They remember that. And how proud they were of those shoes.
Sure.
At least they weren't tennis shoes.
And just in case we missed it, I bobbled with the buttons on the camera. Just in case we missed it, would you tell about the meeting with Charlie again? Because I'm not sure which part of the recording we got that.
My uncle and his first cousin, and it was after they came home from service. And Bud would go down to Port Clinton, and then he would have this other kid hanging around him too. And Bud says, I have a niece at home that you can meet. So I brought him up one night, very quiet, very shy. He says, okay, I think this is what I want. So then they got married in 46 and we got married in 49.
Wow. That's cute. That's a cute story.
I can't think of anything else right
Well,
now.
that's all right. Well, thank you again.
But like you say, I've lived here all my life and I've lots of things.
Yeah. Well, so you may think it's something else.
And no more grocery stores in town where you have to leave the town now.
Yes.
Oh well.
Yeah, one time we had 3 or 4, now we don't have any.
Yeah.